Hey guys, Nick here, with part 7 to What If Eastman Survived. Last time we ended the Wolf arc, and pretty much gave Alexandria a much better going into the Savior arc, with the truck not being drowned, and Alexandria being more than stockpiled when it comes to food, supplies, and drinks, and whatever else. And their entrance into Hilltop being much different, considering the fact that everything leading up to that point has been not totally different, but with the food and stuff, much different. Now, the first difference in going into Hilltop, besides the characters, character development, is the fact that Morgan and Eastman are accompanying, mainly because no one's expecting this to go haywire or anything to happen, right? Well, their theories are proven wrong once they get to see Hilltop and everything and hear about Negan and the Saviors. And then, whenever Eastman and Morgan see Ethan attack Gregory, that's when they know everything's just about to go downhill. And yeah, trouble's about to start. And the fight between Ethan and everybody breaks out like it does before. And Ethan is just about to kill Rick because he says that he has to kill Gregory. But this time, whether Rick would think about stabbing Ethan in the throat or not, before anyone can think of anything in that moment, Ethan is knocked out and pushed off of Rick by Eastman with his stick. Because Eastman was sneaky like that. He snuck up on Clear Morgan, and yeah, Clear Morgan was a beast, so yeah, Eastman's not to be trifled with, especially when it comes to someone simple like Ethan. Now, Crystal, one who punched Rick, stupidly, just because he killed Ethan, I get it, they were probably related or whatever, but the fact that she attacked him because Ethan was attacking everybody, yeah, that's not going to happen here, and not give her that stupid little character thing. Morgan stops her because she thinks that he's dead. Ethan's dead. Morgan says that Eastman and everybody here, they didn't come with the intention to hurt anybody or kill anybody. It was Ethan who attacked first. And Eastman didn't even kill him. He's just knocked down on the ground to prevent him from, attacking or anything like that. And then Cal wants to go ahead and show up with his staff or the spear or whatever he held, really, and try and attack. But Jesus calms that down also, saying that ain't gonna help anything, and Ethan is the only one who really did anything. Ethan is still alive, and he's just going to be locked up and freaking put on a tight watch for the moment, because since nobody killed anybody and Daryl just broke, the other guy's arm, nothing really happened here. Oh, and Gregory got stabbed, but really, who cares about Gregory? Anyways, Maggie and Gregory, that's the big thing we gotta talk about here. Is that deal gonna happen? With the food taking half of what Hilltop has? Well, no. Because Alexandria is more than able to sustain itself at this point in time, thanks to the truck not being drowned. That's the number one thing. Because if you guys saw how stockpiled that truck was, having it, Alexandria doesn't need anything of Hilltop. They talk about trade, sure, Maggie and Gregory, but the whole half of what they have at Hilltop, that's not going to happen here. But they also do agree that they will take care of the Saviors also for them, as a sign of good gesture, and that they mean to talk trade in the future, seeing as Hilltop definitely needs the stuff. And Gregory's willing to work with that, considering the fact that Alexandria has the upper hand in terms of supplies and everything that they own this time around. Whenever we talk about the Saviors, and they're all Alexandria, and Rick talks about how to handle them, Morgan brings up the whole sparing them thing, and this time, Rick is actually more on board with that plan. But a few things. Number one, Rick isn't all, back to being seasoned one to Rick just yet. Eastman has definitely helped lower his character and violence, but it's still there. The claimers, and now going after that, have definitely changed Rick to a much different level, which I'm sure we all know. And he says that if they have to kill him, have to kill him. And yeah, pretty much everything he said before. But that he acknowledges that they'll try not to. Eastman says that he agrees with Rick on this and says that he's pushed himself to be like a symbol and a leader here too much. And he will agree with Rick and them on the fact that at least if they have to kill, they have to kill. But he does emphasize that he hopes that they don't have to. And this would be Eastman really stepping up and taking a nod to his character, much more so than we would have seen, besides him helping few people here in between. Then we get to the satellite outpost. And the only thing that differs here so far is that the saviors that are sleeping are not going to get killed. They are just going to be knocked unconscious. I mean, they're already sleeping, so all they gotta do is, like, literally knock them out, which is kind of weird, honestly, to knock out a sleeping person, but, you know, that's just the way I think it would go. Eventually, conflict would arise into the day, and saviors would get killed, but not as many as there were. And none of the sleeping ones either. If they awoke and then got killed, that's different. But nobody that would be sleeping would be killed. And I think this would make most of the group, like Glenn and Heath, feel much better about themselves. So all in all, the saviors like Primo and maybe a few extras would be caught trying to ride off with the bike, but they would be caught out in the courtyard and then get called on the walkie by Paula and Shell and all those other saviors who have Carol and Maggie hostage, because that still happens. But there is one big difference here outside of Eastman and Morgan both being there. The saviors here are not going to get as much of a big upper hand as you might think. Right whenever the saviors come out and they're about to put the initiative on, you know, taking Carol and Maggie hostage, Morgan comes from behind like the sick man he is and knocks Shell to the ground, the one who tried to kill baby Herschel and stab Maggie. This prompts Maggie and Carol to get their guns back and aim straight at Paula and all the other saviors, because thanks to Morgan being around with Maggie and Carol while Eastman was with the others, this allowed the group to get a much better upper hand. And so this way they're not going to be taken to that other part of the satellite outpost, that little station area. Morgan then tells Paula and the other saviors that they ain't winning this. They have thought of every outcome when it comes to how they went into the satellite outpost, especially with him and his teacher around. So what they should do right now is just surrender, because they're not going to get out of this. They didn't come here to kill anybody. They came here to talk surrender and peace. Paula asked Morgan if he really expects her to believe that they're really going to do peace after they killed the saviors on the road and some of the people here. Really expects to believe that? Morgan says that he doesn't know anything about the saviors on the road, but all he knows is that they attacked first. And then he explains, and Paula's her whole fair enough deal and pretty much all that. But that doesn't stop her from being her and all the other saviors not wanting to back down and say that they ain't surrendering and they're not going to give up without a fight. And just before they're about to put on said fight, Rick and everybody else has heard the shouting, the gunfire, and everything else that was going on, and detected the Paula and all the other saviors' location, not allowing them this time to get away, and have Primo and several other unnamed saviors hostage. Because like I said, there'd be much more saviors alive here, considering the fact that the group is lighter thanks to Eastman. meaning that there's more hostages that Paula now has to deal with. But it still doesn't sway her, or any of the saviors. Because let's be honest, half of the saviors, especially the ones who killed all the kingdom fighters, they didn't care about each other. So, for Paula and the saviors to care about more hostages besides Primo is an understatement. Now, this prompts the saviors to unfortunately open fire, resulting in a gun battle. But the saviors aren't going to win that in any way, shape, or form. Not only with the group better stocked on ammunition, way more so, because of that truck, because let's be honest, there had to at least have been some ammunition on that truck. But the fact that they have more savior hostages, it can't really do anything. And then Primo and the rest of the saviors are killed whenever they start calling themselves Negan. And it would just result in confusion. It wouldn't result in thinking that the threat's over, but for the most part, it does put their minds to rest, seeing as they might have just dealt with the threat. Although this time, they're not so sure. Morgan and Eastman being the most two unsure. Not because of the threat being over or not, but because of the whole killing aspect. But as they both agreed, it's what had to be done. Meanwhile, Abraham and Eugene are off doing the whole bullet thing and argue, and Eugene says that he doesn't need him anymore. That goes per normal. There's nothing really is going to make that not happen. Also, we get the whole Daryl, Rosita, and Denise bit, and then Denise gets killed, Dwight shows up with his face all burnt, and Eugene bites Dwight's unmentionables, and that whole thing goes as you would expect. And yeah, then we cut to Alexandria, where Eastman and Morgan have a big talk. A talk that they haven't really had since they, got to Alexandria, or even before that. Talk that they really needed to have about the whole savior thing. They talk about whether the saviors might actually be dealt with, and how they should prepare to deal with that and help them after. And how they should continue helping people here, and the whole killing aspect being more put into their minds. Trying to agree on whether or not they want to agree with the whole killing aspect. You get what I mean? And then, afterwards, Eastman's all by himself, whenever someone unexpected comes to see him for a talk. Carol. Now, Carol has been a real fighter. She already is a fighter, but in the whole aspect of Eastman's helping ritual, she's been a real stickler for not wanting to believe it. But what does she want now? Has she finally agreed with it? Is she going to say to Eastman that she's sorry? Or is this her taking initiative like she did with Morgan, trying to push him away? And will she want to leave the group this time around? Or has Eastman clouded her judgment too much? And that's where we leave things for the moment. Hope you guys like this episode and are enjoying the What If Eastman Survived story as a whole. Definitely a little bit of suspense, but not really too much. Kind of an undermined Savior Satellite Outpost twist. But going into the rest, what do you guys think will happen? Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.
You get yourself in some trouble, partner?